What's up, guys? Are you thinking about whether or not you should pull the trigger on buying a house now or wait? Well, we're going to be talking about why it's not such a smart idea to wait to purchase a house moving forward. And that's what we're going to be getting to right now.
Hey, I'm Clay,
I'm Jacob.
and we're the Martin Brothers. We help people from all around the world buy and sell real estate here in Colorado Springs, and we absolutely love it. So if you're looking at relocating here to Colorado Springs to live, work, and play, give us a call, shoot us a text, or come knock on this guy's front door, because we would love to help you guys buy a house here in Colorado Springs. So if you find good value in this content we're putting out, please hit the notifications bell and subscribe to our channel so you get notified the next time we drop a video.
All right, so today we are here with Dustin Sidwell of Fairway Mortgage. He is the branch manager here in Colorado Springs for, is it the Pikes Peak Group?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, so he's going to be kind of talking to us today about what things look like, what we've experienced over the last year when it comes to interest rates and housing prices, and ultimately how that's affected the buyer. We get a lot of folks that say that they want to wait to buy a house. The market's just too intense right now. We want to wait. We want to wait till houses go down in value, et cetera, et cetera. And we hear that quite often. And realistically, what we've seen over the last few years, that's not the smartest decision, especially while rates are as low as they have been. So we're just kind of give it over to Dustin. He's going to run us through and share some information with us that might help you make a good decision here moving forward.
Yeah, first off, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for the good content you guys are providing. I think it's important. And you're right. I would say if I were to summarize, probably the most common question that we're getting is, Dustin, do you feel like this is a good time to buy? They're nervous about a repeat of 2008 where they're going to buy at the top of the market. And we are getting a lot of people that are questioning if they should wait. And so we figured we'd get some information out, maybe to make a data-driven decision, rather than an emotional decision. So one of my favorite quotes is always that quote that's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time to plant a tree? Today.
Yeah.
And I do feel that a little bit with real estate. You ask people, should I have bought 3 years ago? You should have. You should have. That probably would have been great. I mean, you would have capitalized into some of this appreciation that's happened. But do I still feel like we're in an incredible market? I do. And, as we were kind of talking about it, I thought I'd put some initial numbers together just to kind of help us have some, like I said, some data to back it up. So let's just pretend that today you bought a home, you're looking at a home for $400,000. Today's rates are super low, as we've talked about. Let's say you're getting a rate around 3.125% on a conventional loan with 20% down. So I kind of ran some initial numbers. That would be a PITI payment, so principal, interest, taxes, insurance, kind of a rough estimate of around $1,667 with a down payment of $80,000. So you're like, okay. But let's pretend that you're like, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family, you're starting to wonder, like, man, I'm going to wait 12 months. I'm just going to see what the market does. And I'm also going to save because I don't feel all the way ready. So numbers are projected to be around 12% appreciation between now and next year. Now, people say, how can that continue to happen? Really, it's supply and demand. If you look at it, we are undersupplied. There is more demand for homes than is available. So it's going to continue to kind of drive those numbers up. So now that $400,000 home is going to turn into a $448,000 home. And they're projecting rates to be at least 0.5% higher by next year. Just with inflation pressures and everything else, there is a lot of pressure to raise those up. So if we were to wait 12 months and then you're buying the new house at $448,000, new rates at 3.625%, now all of a sudden your down payment's $89,600 and your payment jumped up to $1,977. So we're sitting here and we're going back and forth and we're saying, okay, so now, waiting 12 months, your down payment increased by $9,600, but your monthly payment's going to increase by $310. So I'll go back to you guys and we can talk about some of these other factors, but I figured, what are your guys' thoughts here in that first?
Yeah, I think like ultimately, I completely understand someone wanting to wait. It does seem extreme right now. I bought a house this year. Clay bought a house this year. You know, we help lots of people buy houses throughout the year, and it's very intense, you know, and it's kind of mentally draining, and you feel like it just causes a lot of stress, you know, like you're having to like jump through hoops to find houses that are of interest to you, and then you're having to pay top dollar, sometimes going well above asking price. You know, it's a competing situation. So I understand people wanting to wait and want things to settle down. And then I also understand, you know, like maybe not feeling completely financially ready. You know, you don't feel comfortable, like you don't have enough money in the bank to part ways with whatever it is, 5%, 10%, 20% down payment, you know, and you want to cushion that savings a little bit. But at the same time, looking at the big picture and saying, okay, well, you know, is that worth waiting 12 months and seeing that, you know, significant appreciation, seeing the cost of goods and services increase, right? So my dollar not being able to go as far. And I think anyone that's considering buying a house, whether it's now or 12 months from now, they really need to look at the big picture and weigh, you know, what makes sense for them. Because I mean, realistically, you might be in a little bit of a pinch, right? Or your savings might not be as large as you would like it to be, but you could put that money towards a house. And what did you say the expected appreciation is going to be for?
Yeah, 12%, you know,
12%.
so
So I mean, you look at the general person, and there's not too many of us that, you know, have the ability to, you know, take our money and, you know, increase it by 12% in a 12 months time frame, you know. So looking at it like, well, you know, I could take that money and put it in real estate, and it's going to increase in value. I'm going to have some equity, you know,
yeah, and one
playing
thing I
playing
was
the long
in.
game.
Well, one of the thoughts I just want to jump in is probably the biggest hindrance for most people in buying a home is down payment. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of hit this point where they're like, I don't know many people that are like, I enjoy renting more than buying my own home. That's
Mhm.
not what people are saying. It's usually like they don't either feel ready or they don't feel like they have the down payment for it. And so down payment assistance is powerful because it's like we're getting people in, we're getting them in at a good competitive rate, we're helping them out. So it's like you might want to see what those options look like. But then the nice part is, just like, you know, Jacob was saying is, you know, okay, all of a sudden over 12 months, I've actually paid a little bit into my principal, and, you know, my home appreciated by 12%. Let's see about maybe even refinancing, maybe dropping some mortgage insurance. I mean, there's so many little factors here. So it's just an important time to just see what the numbers look like. But anyway.
And ultimately, I tell this to everyone, like I'll get people that for numerous reasons, folks are just kind of hesitant about talking to real estate agents or lenders, right? Because they don't feel ready. I'm like, no, you need to have these conversations well in advance. Like I've got a friend right now who is probably not able to purchase right this second. But I'm like, look, you need to be like after the holidays, you need to be reaching out to Dustin, right? Getting your ducks in a row, seeing where you stand financially, credit score wise, all that. Seeing what that looks like in terms of how much money you're going to have to put down, so that in 6 months you're ready to act, right? You're not sitting back on your heels, right? Because you're being lazy or you're scared of what, you know, the truth of what your current predicament is, like going out there, getting ahead of it and getting to the point where you can go ahead and pull the trigger as soon as you possibly can.
And also, nobody likes to be sold, right? And I hate saying like, you know, salespeople, you know, realtors, lenders, all that stuff. And of course, there's people out there that can do that or upsell their goods and services. Well, in our case, our services. But having a plan makes it so much more like comfortable going forward. You're not nervous, and you like, I get it. You don't know what you don't know, so it just builds up a lot of anxiety if you're just waiting to, you know, talk to one of us later in the game, as opposed to talking to us now, putting together a game plan and having that confidence, you know, when it does come time to buy or start shopping, you're just gonna be in a much better place.
Can you like give an example of someone that was on the fence, right? They were able to purchase a year ago or 6 months ago or whatever that looks like. They were on the fence, and for whatever reason they didn't, right? And then they got stuck with a higher interest rate, a higher payment, or, you know, that particular price point they were looking at just couldn't get them as much.
I mean, we have you know, a lot of those people, you know, and the people that I feel like they're never all the way ready. You know, it's always kind of like the joke is like, you know, when are you ready to get married? When are you ready to have kids? You never really know, right? And so sometimes they overthought it and they thought, you know, next year when the market's better, next year when and then they'll reach back out and here they've paid rent for 12 months, really have nothing to show for it. And
Right.
now, you know, all of a sudden it's like they're still not ready. And then they're like, well, my down payment's actually worse because one of the thoughts that nobody's taking into account here is rent's actually appreciated 18% on average over the last 12 months. So not only are they like, I didn't take advantage of it, but now my rent went up. Let's say you have a $1,500 rent payment. Now it's $1,760, let's say. So your rent just went up by a couple $100. So it was harder to save. And then the inflation numbers just came out this morning, 6.8%. And so all of a sudden what you were surviving on last year, your cost of living just went up by 6.8%.
Yeah.
You know, and you guys are the same as me. Everyone we're talking to is like, going to the gas station, holy cow, you know, it's $100 to fill up my tank. And I mean, the joke is the other day we went to Wendy's, my family, and we were on our way up in kind of a ski town. So the cost is always a little bit higher, but I was shocked at the cost. I was like, wait, how much is that? Wait, do you have my right order? Because just the cost is, and then you guys are doing this too. We're talking to people building homes and they're like, man, the price per square foot to build a home is high. So I think people are having a harder time saving than they thought they were.
Yeah.
And just like we talked about there, the point that I love is and probably even a better story is the guy that a year ago said, you know what, I'm going to scrape, I'm going to claw, I'm going to get into that home. And then watching them get in, maybe down payment assistance, they're getting in, maybe not the house of their dreams at the moment, but the idea of getting in there and fixing it up and making it their own and painting it how they want it and doing all these nice things. So over the last 12 months, they've built some equity, right? They got that anywhere from 12 to 18% return. They've been paying down a little bit, and then they've done some fix-ups to their home, and then having them come back to me or refinancing and putting them into this great rate. They're dropping mortgage insurance. They have home equity. They have that like feeling of accomplishment. They have that feeling of like, this house is mine, and they're working their way towards. I mean, real estate's the best way to build wealth, in my opinion. I mean, I've talked about that before, so. I think, and I've got several of those stories, and that's probably one of my favorite things about what we're doing right now.
So going back to rent, we had lunch with our like title team yesterday, and our title sales rep was talking about how she's lived in the same apartment. It's a new apartment off of Interquest. So for those of you that don't know that area, it's Interquest has seen a lot of development over the last couple of years, like significant growth.
And it's on the north side of town.
Yeah, north side of town, right near the interstate, but really nice apartments. She was paying $1,300 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And for some of you all, that's nothing. For some of you, where you're coming from, that's like just an extreme amount, which to me is still an extreme amount for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And she lived there for 3 years, and she wanted to go ahead and break her lease. She knew that was probably going to cost her quite a bit of money up front, but she wanted to get out of there, go to a different part of town. And she called, and they were thrilled that she wanted to break her lease. They weren't going to charge her for all the months that she was not going to fulfill of the contract, right? They said, no, you'll just pay this month's, and you'll pay one extra month, right? Because they're going to boot her out of there, and they're going to jack it up from $1,300 a month to $1,900 a month for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And that's like, the demand is just so great right now that they're able to do that. And they want those folks to end up leaving so that they can increase those rates. And then going back to like some of our clients, right? 2 clients this year that I've worked with that have made, you know, $100,000 or more in around a year time frame. So I had a couple, young military couple in Southeast Colorado Springs. They purchased their house in July of 2020 for $351,000. And then 11 months later, they closed on that property after selling it, right, at 450. So, I mean, almost $100,000 increase in value in that property in 11 months. And those people are PCSing, they're going to another country. But I told him, I was like, this will probably never happen to you ever again. But like in 11 months, you didn't do anything to the property and you saw the value of the property increase. Now, obviously they didn't get all of that money, right? They had realtor fees and title fees and everything, but they still made a substantial chunk of equity, right? And then another couple in July of last year, I helped them buy their house. They paid like $450 for it, and we're under contract right now and closing on Tuesday of next week for $560. Right? So again, just absurd. They own the property for a little over a year, and they're going to make a huge chunk of change. If they had waited, right? If they had waited a year, they never would have been able to afford that house, right? And then that same house would have been, you know, $110,000 more than what they paid for it in July of 2020. I mean, that's like, to me, that's like an indication of one of the reasons why you shouldn't wait. But don't just think that, oh, the market's going to bottom out, right? And interest rates are going to remain low, and I'm going to get this smoking deal. You're in one of the most popular areas in the entire country for people to move to, so there's significant demand. There's a housing shortage, right? And typically, what happens to rates, Dustin, when prices drop?
Yeah, I mean, rates right now, they're trying to slow the market down.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way they're trying to slow it down is by increasing rates.
Yeah.
Because inflation, that's the best way to curb inflation. So like we talked about a minute ago, 6.8%. So that means the market's too hot. And they're trying to say, okay, we got to slow this buying down. And so right now they feel like they're giving it to us for a good deal. And I love what you guys said. I mean, the one thing that I feel like I tell a lot of people is you just got to take what the market's giving you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's never this perfect in sync. You're buying at low numbers, you're getting amazing rates, there's huge appreciation numbers. There's always kind of missing pieces in every market. But I think right now you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, what do I have? Number one, you buy real estate, there's a high demand. So you're getting something that's going to appreciate over the next year. I remember from like 2010 to like 2017, we called that like the dead decade because homes didn't appreciate very much in that time. So right now it's like, hey, get in, start taking advantage of it. The other thing is money is extremely cheap right now. It's so cheap. So it's like jumping in, taking advantage of like what you have and knowing, yeah, you're right. You might be paying top dollar for it. You're right. You know, and acknowledging that you might be having to pay over the appraisal amount. You're right. But it's believing in the future, knowing where it's going. I mean, one thing we were talking about the other day, you guys, is every house I've ever lived in, I've lived there for free. And everyone's like, well, how do you do that? Well, by the time I've sold it, I'm like, every dollar I spent in a payment, I just made back in my, you know, when I sold it. So I just think, you know, we want to keep pushing. Real estate is the way to build generational wealth. It's a powerful tool. Not only that, but just the satisfaction of living in a house that you own and that's yours and you have control over it. So, you know, of course, we'd love to help anybody out there that has any questions on it.
And then just looking at like rents and everything like that, like if you're paying $1,800 a month, right? Like for an individual that's, you know, getting an apartment or something like that, like it seems like a lot, but it's pretty normal here, right? If you're a family and you're trying to get a house, like expect to pay well over that. Expect to pay like $2,000, $2,200, like all day long, right? If you're paying $1,800 a month in rent in 1 year, that's $21,600 that you will never see again, right? You're building someone else's net worth, right, to live there. And there's nothing wrong with renting. I've rented, Clay's rented, like sometimes it makes complete sense, but just keep that in mind. Like you're waiting on the market to slow down. You're waiting on something better to happen, right? By the time you're done waiting, you could have spent, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in rent just for you to get a deal, right? Well, it's no longer a deal if you just chucked away $50,000.
Well, here's another thing to think about. People are like, renting it's a little safer, but like Jacob was saying, if 21, just over, 21.6 to rent over 12 months at 1,800, the cost to get into that rental most of the time, you got to pay first and last plus your a deposit.
And
So
that doesn't include pet deposit and then monthly pet rent.
And then
on
you're
top
looking at
of it.
$5,500 just to move into a rental that they're probably going to jack the price up on you, next year. It's just as I don't want to say just as expensive, but it's pretty damn expensive.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jacob, you're bringing up that pet deposit because it sounds like there might be something new coming in your household here soon.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get a pet deposit for my girls.
New dog coming into the Martin household.
New golden doodle. It's gonna be our co-mascot with Cy.
That's my dog. His dog will never be as cool as my dog. But no, just to kind of recap that a little bit, like there is nothing wrong with renting. Some people are not in a position to buy, and that's totally fine. This is not a video to push you guys to do something you don't feel comfortable doing. We're basically simply giving you guys the information of success stories of people that have made an accidental $100,000 just by buying a house a year ago.
And I would say that those people were like, they were extremely fortunate, right? I would never recommend that you just buy a house, right? Unless it's like some fix and flip that you're gonna hold long term, right? I would never recommend paying, average sales price or whatever that looks like. If you're like, nah, we're just gonna test it out. Maybe we'll be here a year, right? You just never know. Whenever you're buying real estate, whether it's your personal residence or it's an investment property, you want to buy it with the intent that no matter what, you're going to hold that property for 5-10 years before you plan on selling it, right? If you're PCSing out here and you have no intention of staying, more than a couple years, like I would highly, recommend like looking at, am I going to buy property out here and keep it long term? So definitely buying is not for everyone. Renting is not for everyone. You just need to take all the information and decide on what it looks like for you, and if you want to pull the trigger with a purchase or not.
I mean, there's so many things that kind of happen on a home, and we see a lot of people, a lot of military folks, right, coming into town, and Colorado Springs is their final destination. They're buying, they're going to rent it out, they're going to go to another place, they're coming back. And I think you brought this up earlier that Colorado Springs is one of the top destinations, and we've been in the top 5 for multiple years in a row. So we just continue to see appreciation, and it shocks you just because, I've been in my current home for 7 years, and I look back at what we bought it for, and it's just shocking that I could get into my home for what I got it for. So that game happens a lot where people go and let's say they're away for 5 years and they come back and they're like, man, I'm so glad I held on to that property. I can't believe I got that for $310,000 because now it's worth $550,000. And, I'd say in most cases, they don't end up moving back in the same house. But I think just like we talked about before, I believe wholeheartedly that real estate is a powerful tool because what it allows you to do is to build wealth. You need to either be a professional athlete or something, but most of us, we miss that window. But think about real estate, while you're out there living your life, it's building wealth for you. And as it's building, you got your 401k building wealth, you got your real estate building wealth, and then you got your daily job. And some of the days, let's say I don't have a good day at work. And some days my 401k doesn't have a good day. And some days like the real estate doesn't have a good day. But over time, those three working together, that's when the power comes. So would love to help you guys out, like I said, with anything like that and run scenarios. And it's a great time to buy still. I say it all the time.
Yeah, I love it, man. Hey, so it's December right now. People that are going to buy a house or they're thinking about buying a house sometime in the spring or sometime next year, when should they reach out to you? How early? How far in advance?
Like we were talking about earlier, I'd say now. Too many times people are waiting and all of a sudden they got a judgment they didn't know about on their credit report. And all of a sudden we're scrambling, trying to get things fixed. I'd say, look at it now. We make sure everything's, prepared, ready. I want to make sure you're getting the best rate you can. I want to make sure you're getting the best lending terms you can. And I would say if we have time to kind of build that out, it just makes the process smoother.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. Like before I bought my house, I reached out to Dustin at the very beginning of this year, and he helped me get my ducks in a row. Like I needed to pay off some debt. Um, I I wanted to see like what I qualified for. I wanted to get a general idea of like what I could expect that payment to be around. And he answered all those questions for me. He told me do this, do that, to increase your credit score. And not that I did any of that perfectly, but I did it over the course of months, right? And it made the home purchase process so much easier when I did actually buy that property. And and I just can't, like, I can't say it enough. Like, don't wait until you're like ready to pull the trigger. Start early, contact a lender, right? Reach out to them, find out what you have to do. They might tell you like, hey, like your debt to income's a little jacked up, right? Here's some things that you can do right now over the course of the next few months to fix that and be in a better position to be able to qualify for more, right? To be able to qualify for a better interest rate. So do that. Don't play the procrastination game, when it comes to prepping to purchase.
And just to add on to that, like it's a lot of times there's more than one way to get to that corrected, finish line. So what you might think is like, let's just eliminate all debt, Dustin might tell you, I'm bumping my elbows again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Dustin might tell you, look, let's keep this one and let's focus on this one. So it's just nice to have a professional in your corner. Yeah. And have somebody talk about you the way he talks about him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the extra money to pay off that debt, so I got a second job. I started escorting on the side and brought in a lot of extra money and knocked it out really quick. So that might not be for you, but it worked for me.
I thought we were going to keep that a secret.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dustin, for joining us today and sharing with us and, anyone out there that's watching kind of, what that looks like if you do play the waiting game when it comes to buying real estate. And we'll definitely have Dustin on again to talk about what the market's going to be looking like in 2022. So definitely check out that video.
And lastly, if you guys like this video, hit that notifications bell and like and subscribe to our channel. We would greatly appreciate it. And as always, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or even come knock on this guy's door. We would love to help you guys find a place right here in Colorado Springs. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.